The moment my boss told me to hand my position to his son, I knew the conversation was already over. "Julia," Martin Hale said, folding his hands on the desk. "Effective today, you'll begin the handover. Ethan will be taking over your role." I did not ask why. I had worked at Hale Freight Systems for 6 years. I knew what that sentence meant. I stood up, reached into my bag, and placed an envelope on his desk. "Then this is my resignation." Martin did not look surprised. He opened the envelope, skimmed it once, and slid it back toward me. "No," he said calmly. "That's not how this works." "I'm giving notice," I replied. "And I'm declining it." He said, "It has to follow procedure. 3 months of handover." 3 months, I repeated. "You're the senior operations manager," he said. "You built the systems. The clients trust you. We can't just stop." I nodded slowly. That word again. "We?" "So Ethan gets the title," I said. "And I keep the responsibility." Martin smiled, relieved that I understood. "Think of it as continuity." Ethan was already waiting outside when I walked back to my desk. 26. New suit. My boss's last name. "Dad said you'd help me get settled," he said, extending his hand. "For 3 months," I replied, shaking it, according to procedure. That was when it became clear. They were not keeping me because they valued me. They were keeping me because they could not function without what I carried in my head. The story you're about to hear is a fictional narrative created by the writing team at Her Revenge. While inspired by real workplace dynamics and emotional truths, all characters, companies, and events have been dramatized to explore themes of power, dignity, and self-worth. Each story stands on its own, with its own message, and is written to remind viewers that silence is not the same as weakness. By the end of the day, the announcement email went out. "Ethan Hale, Operations Lead." My phone did not stop buzzing. "Is this temporary? Are you still approving routes? Do I still come to you?" I answered the same way every time. "For now, yes." Martin passed my desk once before leaving. "I appreciate your professionalism." "Julia," he said quietly. I looked up at him. "I'm just following procedure." That night, I opened a fresh notebook at my kitchen table. On the first page, I wrote one line. 3 months is a long time when someone thinks you have nowhere else to go. When I first came to Phoenix, Martin did not talk about titles. He talked about problems. "We're growing too fast," he said during my interview. "Routes breaking down, vendors missing windows, clients getting nervous." I told him I could fix systems. He said, "Then start Monday." My first week, a carrier missed a desert transfer and shut down an entire distribution chain. Martin stood behind my desk while phones rang. "Tell me what you need," he said. "Time and authority," I replied. He hesitated, then nodded. "You have both." Nights blurred together after that. "Julia, we lost the Tucson line. Give me 10 minutes. Julia?" The Nevada carrier just backed out. Loop and Mesa and reroute. By the 3rd month, people stopped asking who I was. They just asked for me. "Put Julia on," a client would say. "She'll know." One afternoon, Martin leaned against my doorway. "You realize you're carrying half the operation now," he said. "I'm carrying what you handed me," I answered. He smiled. "That's how it starts." The promotion came slowly. No announcement, no applause. Just a new chair and a heavier calendar. "Senior Operations Manager," Martin said, sliding the paper across my desk. "You earned it. Clients notice before the company did. I don't sign unless Julia's on the call." One logistics director said, "Carriers trusted my timelines. Teams trusted my calls. Even Martin deferred. Run it your way." He'd say, "Just keep it moving." That chair was never about status. It was where decisions landed when something went wrong. It was where responsibility stopped, when freight stalled, when audits loomed, when someone needed to say yes or no. The answer came from me. 6 years of building that weight into muscle. 6 years of being the one who stayed when others logged off. So when Martin told me to hand it over, he did not take a title. He took something that had been working. The next morning, I arrived early. My calendar was already full, my inbox already breathing. Ethan had the chair on paper. Everything else still came to me. The email went out at 9 sharp. "Please welcome Ethan Hale as Operations Lead." Within minutes, my phone lit up. "Julia, are we still using the Mesa reroute, Julia? Do I escalate this carrier issue to you or Ethan, Julia?" The audit team just called. Ethan appeared at my desk, holding a tablet like a shield. Dad said I should sit in on your calls today, he said. You're welcome to, I replied. I'm already on 3. By noon, he had the title and I had the problems. Martin stopped by mid-afternoon. This overlap is temporary, he said quietly. Temporary usually has an end date, I replied. He smiled. Let's not get stuck on details. At 2. The Arizona freight supervisor knocked. Ethan approved the vendor change, she said. But the contract still lists you. I looked at Ethan. He looked at Martin. Martin sighed. Julia, just handle it. At 4. A client called. I was told Ethan is in charge now, the voice said. That's correct. I answered. Good, he said. Then loop Julia in. I don't move inventory without her. Ethan shifted in his chair. I'm trying to learn, he said later. Lower this time. I know, I replied. Learning takes time and authority. He added. I met his eyes. Authority comes with consequences. Martin called me into his office before close of day. You're being difficult, he said. I'm doing the work, I replied. You're supposed to be supporting him. I am, I said. I just don't sign what I don't control. He leaned back. This is how leadership transitions happen. No, I said. This is how responsibility gets blurred. When I returned to my desk, Ethan was still there, staring at an approval queue he could not clear without me. Can you walk me through this one, he asked. I pulled up the file. For now, I said. Everything still comes through me. He nodded, relieved. The title had moved, the weight had not. Martin called me back into his office the next morning. Sit, he said. We need to be clear. I thought we already were, I replied. He slid a folder toward me. Audit schedules, carrier renewals, federal compliance reviews. I built those timelines. I said, exactly, he replied. Which is why you can't just walk out. I'm not walking out, I said. I resigned. He tapped the folder. If you leave before transition is complete, it gets recorded as abandonment during a controlled period. I looked at him. You'd put that in my file. I'd have no choice, he said. Calm as ever. Procedure. Later that day. Legal joined the call. 3 months ensures continuity, the attorney said. It protects the company. And me? I asked. She paused. It preserves your professional record. After the call, Ethan stopped by my desk. Dad says this is standard. He said, standard for who? I replied. He hesitated. For situations like this, at lunch, my operations lead. Carla leaned close. They're terrified, she said. Of what? I asked. Of you leaving with everything still in your head. That afternoon, Martin came by again. You understand now, he said. I understand the leverage, I replied. He frowned. Don't make this adversarial. Julia, I said. You did when you blocked my exit. He softened his tone. Finish the handover. Leave clean. Everyone wins. Everyone, I repeated. By the end of the day, I sent 1 email, confirming 3-month transition period per procedure. Martin replied within minutes. Approved. I closed my inbox and opened my calendar. 90 days filled the screen. Reviews, deadlines, sign-offs. They thought the procedure would keep me in place. They were right, just not for the reason they assumed. I stayed because leaving immediately would have cost me my name. And I had spent 6 years making sure that name meant something. Ethan started coming by my desk more often, not confidently, carefully. Julia, he said one morning, lowering his voice. The Reno carrier flagged a delay. Is that normal this time of year? It's in the transition notes, I replied. Page 4. He nodded and left, then came back an hour later. The notes mention an escalation tree, he said. Who approves the override? The person with signing authority, I answered. He hesitated. That's me now. Then you have your answer, by midweek. Carla forwarded me an email instead of him. They asked for you specifically, she said. Forward it back, I replied. Loop Ethan. The client called anyway. I was told Ethan is leading operations now, the voice said. That's correct. I answered. Good, he said. Then I need Julia on this call. She understands our risk thresholds. I added Ethan and stayed quiet while they talked. He spoke carefully, choosing words he had not yet tested. When the call ended, he exhaled. You didn't jump in, he said. I wasn't asked. I replied. Martin noticed the shift. Things feel slower, he said. Passing my desk. They're moving through the right channels, I answered. He frowned. You used to just handle these. I still do, I said. When it's my role. The next morning, Ethan stood in my doorway, eyes tired. Did you change the approval flow? He asked. No, I said. I stopped bypassing it. At noon. A vendor emailed both of us. We need confirmation by end of day. They wrote. Ethan looked at me. You can respond, I said. It's your call. He stared at the screen longer than necessary, then typed. He asked legal to review. They asked finance. Finance asked operations. The clock moved. Later. Carla stopped by. It used to take you 5 minutes, she said quietly. I know, I replied. By the end of the week, nothing had collapsed, but everything had begun to show where it depended on me. The message came just after 10. Julia, we have a carrier issue, Ethan said, standing too close to my desk. It's time sensitive. How time sensitive? I asked. They're threatening to pull the slot if we don't confirm routing by noon. Did you check the contingency file? I said. Yes, he stopped. You've handled this before. I handled it when it was my call, I replied. He lowered his voice. Can you just handle this one? I looked at the clock. The procedure says the operations lead confirms routing, I said. That's me, he said quickly. Then you should confirm it. He swallowed. I don't want to mess it up. Neither do I said. He stepped back, frustrated but careful. I'll talk to my dad. 10 minutes later, Martin's door closed behind me. This is not the time to make a point, he said. I'm not, I replied. You know exactly what's at stake. I know exactly what you asked me to do, I said. He leaned forward. You've always been reliable. I still am, I said. Then fix this. It isn't mine to fix. His voice hardened. You're being inflexible. I'm being consistent, I said. With what? He asked. With the procedure you insisted on. Silence stretched. You trained him, Martin said. I trained him to understand the work, I replied. Then let him do it. That's what I'm doing. Back at my desk. Ethan was pacing. They need an answer, he said. You should give them one, I replied. He stared at the screen, then at me. If this goes wrong, it will be your decision, I said, and your authority. He nodded, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I wish you were still signing, he said. So do I replied. At 11:48, he sent the confirmation. Legal copied finance. Finance replied with a question. No one moved quickly enough. At noon, the carrier pulled the slot. Ethan sat down, stunned. I thought you'd step in, he said quietly. I followed the process, I replied. The call came in just before noon, and this time it wasn't quiet. Summit Ridge Manufacturing, priority freight. Missed window. Ethan stood in the center of the operations floor, phone pressed to his ear, his face losing color. They're saying the line shuts down by end of day, he said, covering the receiver. If we miss this, they pull the contract. Martin walked out of his office and looked straight at me. Julia, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. We need you on this. I did not move. I can pull the documentation, I said. The contingency plans, the vendor options, and the decision, Martin added. That belongs to Ethan, I replied. Ethan looked at me, eyes wide. Can you at least tell me what you do? He said. I can tell you what the file says, I answered. Already opening it. Page 12 outlines 3 options. Each has risks. Martin's jaw tightened. This isn't the time for technicalities. You made it a time for procedure, I said. I forwarded the documents to Ethan and copied legal and finance, exactly as required. There, I said. Everything you need. The client came on the line. Who's approving the reroute? The procurement director asked. I am, Ethan said, his voice steady but thin. Then proceed. The director replied. We don't have time. Ethan chose the cheapest carrier. Finance approved. Legal flagged it late. The carrier missed the desert transfer by 2 hours. At 4:20, Summit Ridge called back. Our line is down, the director said. This delay costs us more than $200,000 an hour. Martin slammed his hand on the desk. Julia, why didn't you stop this? I met his eyes. I wasn't the decision maker. Ethan said nothing. He just stared at the screen where the tracking status flashed delayed. No one raised their voice after that. There was nothing left to argue. The system had followed the process exactly, and it had failed under the weight of someone who was not ready to carry it. The 3 months ended on a Friday. No meeting, no announcement, just a calendar reminder I deleted without opening. I packed my laptop and badge before anyone noticed. Carla stopped by first. "You're really leaving," she said. "I finished the transition," I replied. She nodded once and hugged me without asking permission. Martin stayed in his office. When I knocked, he did not look up. "Your access will be disabled at 5, he said. "I'm aware," I replied. He cleared his throat. "You didn't have to make it this hard." "I didn't," I said. "I made it correct." He finally met my eyes, then looked away again. There was nothing left to negotiate. Ethan stood near the printers, holding a stack of reports. "I didn't think it would be like this," he said. "It usually isn't," I replied. He hesitated. "I know you were put in a bad position. So were you," I said. "But only one of us chose it." At 4:45. I handed my badge to security. "Everything turned in?" The guard said. "Yes," I replied. "Everything." As I walked past the operations floor, a few heads lifted. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The silence said enough. Ethan caught up to me at the elevator. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know," I replied. The doors closed. The building disappeared from view. Outside, my phone vibrated once. A calendar alert for Monday that no longer mattered. I deleted it. For the first time in months, there was nothing waiting for my approval, nothing pulling at me from another screen. I stepped into my car, shut the door, and let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The weight I'd carried for 6 years did not follow me out. 2 weeks after I left, Carla called me. "Things are backing up," she said. "In what way?" I asked. "In every way." Approvals took longer. Vendor changes sat unanswered. The audit calendar slipped by a day. Then another. "Who signs this now?" someone asked on a call I was accidentally copied on. There was a pause before Ethan answered. "I do." A client called my personal number that afternoon. "We're seeing delays," the procurement director said. "Nothing dramatic, just unfamiliar." "I'm no longer with the company," I said. "I know," he replied. "That's the concern." Martin scheduled meetings, then rescheduled them. Legal asked for clarifications that no one could provide quickly. Finance flagged risks that used to be resolved in minutes. By the end of the month, the board initiated a review. Not an investigation, a review. "What changed?" one director asked during a recorded session. "Leadership structure," Martin said, "and accountability," another replied. I learned the details later from Carla. "They didn't accuse anyone," she said. "They followed the paper." The paper showed decisions approved by someone without full operational control. It showed delays routed through layers that never existed before. It showed a transition that looked clean on the surface and hollow underneath. Martin was asked to step down from management responsibilities. Not fired, reassigned. The board needs stability, they told him. Stability was no longer something he could provide. Ethan lost the title quietly. Interim reassignment, the email said. He was moved to a role without direct reports. No signature authority, no press. A week later, he texted me. "They said I need more experience." He wrote, "That's fair," I replied. "I thought the title would carry me." He said, "The work carries everything." I answered, "Nothing exploded. Nothing needed to." The system did exactly what it was designed to do when pressure revealed where strength was missing. My new office did not have a better view. It had something else. "Take the lead," my director said on my first day. "We hired you because we trust your judgment." No one hovered, no one corrected my tone. When I spoke, people listened, not because of a title, but because they expected clarity. A week in, a routing issue surfaced. "What do you want to do?" the team asked. I made the call. They executed. It moved on. That was when I understood what those 3 months had really been. I had not been stuck. I had been paying attention. Martin believed procedure would protect him. He believed paperwork could replace respect. He believed that if everything looked correct on paper, the system would hold. What he missed was that systems do not run on forms. They run on judgment, on trust, on people who know when rules apply and when they must bend to keep something alive. Ethan sent one last message. "I'm starting over," he wrote. "That's how you learn," I replied. I never felt the urge to explain myself to Martin. There was nothing left to say. His process had spoken for him. It had shown everyone exactly how much of the operation depended on borrowed competence. At lunch one day, my director leaned back and said, "You don't hesitate." "I hesitate," I said. "I just decide anyway." That night, I closed my laptop without checking it again. No alerts, no approvals waiting on me to save the day. The lesson came quietly, without applause or confrontation. You can force someone to stay. You can force them to comply. But loyalty cannot be written into procedure, and competence cannot be inherited. If there is one truth I carry forward, it is this: when you stop protecting systems that do not protect you, you give yourself room to build something better. And when you choose dignity over fear, the future opens in ways control never could.